Hi, today we're going to talk about operations on radicals. So as you can see here, we have two terms that we want to multiply together. So we can start with the 5 and the 3 here. Multiply those two together, we get 15 times the radical. And since we have the third root here and the third root here, we can multiply the contents of both out together within one third root radical. Negative 12 ab to the fourth times 18 a squared b squared. That's what we have. Now we just need to simplify it. So 15 third root of negative 12 times 18. Just going to group those constants together. We don't have to multiply them out yet. And we have a times a squared, that's a to the third. B to the fourth times b squared, that's b to the sixth power. And so that's what we have right now. If we focus on these two right here, a to the third times b to the sixth, well, we know that we need to get 3 of something all multiplied together to be able to take it outside of the radical. So since a to the third is just a times a times a, we have 3 of something all multiplied together. And that's a. So we can take a out of the radical. Next, b to the sixth. Well, b to the sixth is the same thing as b squared times b squared times b squared. This is also true because b squared, all to the third power, is b to the sixth. So we can take, this was an a, we can take b squared out of the radical. So now we have 15 a b squared times the third root of negative 12 times 18. And with these constants here, we want to write out the prime factorizations of each of these. So negative 12 is negative 1 times 2 squared times 3, and 18 is 3 squared times 2. So those are the same thing. And if we group these up, we get negative 1 times 2 to the third power times 3 to the third power. And that's all under the third root. Of course, we have 15ab squared outside here. So now we can clearly see that we have 3 2's all multiplied together, and we have 3 3's all multiplied together. So we can take 2 out of the radical and 3 out of the radical. So 2 times 3, that's 6. 6 times 15 is 90. So now we have 90 ab squared times the third root of negative 1. And you may be tempted to put I for the root of negative 1. But since this is the third root and not the second root, the third root of negative 1 is just negative 1. So we can bring that out front. And our answer is going to be negative 90 ab squared. Now let's try a different one. So here we have the square root of 98 minus 2 square root of 32. So first we want to take the prime factorization of 98. That is going to be 2 times 7 squared. Then we want to take the prime factorization of 32. That's going to be 2 to the fifth power. So now we want to simplify these two radicals the best that we can. And we see here that we have 7 squared, so we can take a 7 outside the radical to get 7 square root of 2. It's going to be the same thing as square root of 98. And then we get negative 2. We want to simplify this radical here. Well, 2 to the fifth is going to be the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So we can group these up. here's a square, here's another square, so we can take 2 and then another 2 outside the radical. So 2 and then another 2 outside the radical, but this 2 doesn't have a partner, so we still have to keep this 2 inside of the radical. So square root of 2. And now we can simplify. So 7 square root of 2 minus 8 square root of 2. That's going to be negative square root of 2. And that is our answer.